Welcome, everybody. Are you sitting comfortably? Did you have your coffee? I want to welcome you to a very special day for us today, this very special launch event. I also want to say hi to everybody that's looking at us through the live stream. So we are also live streaming this session. So hello to all the people on the other side. My name is Miguel Ballester. I will be your host today. So I will make sure that you have everything you need to do your job. As I said in the beginning, this is very, very exciting for us. We have a team. You will meet a lot of people today, but we are many more. So I want to also say hi to our team in Amsterdam, who is also looking, and our team in Taipei, and our team in Suzhou. Also very excited. So hello, guys. We are here finally. I don't know what's your experience with this kind of launch events. I hope we managed to do it a little bit different. We're a small social enterprise in a very big industry, and to try to do things differently. And you will learn a lot about it today. Let me get you through the agenda today. We will start with some presentations from our CEO and our Director of Value Chain. So that will take around 1 hour. After that, we will have a Q&A. Where our commercial director, Monique Lempers, and our founder and previous CEO, Bas van Abel, will join us also here on the table. So there's time for you to raise all those questions. We'll try to finish at 11, but we have some time if there's more questions. From 11 to 12, we'll open the doors for you to see the demos. So you will be able to touch and feel what the product is all about. And at 12, as you know already, we will lift the embargo. So you're free to write and publish. I just want to have one small reminder. By sitting here, we are recording everything, of course, and there will be pictures taken. So if anybody would like to not be on the picture, please let us know. We will make sure that you are not on them. So that being said, I also want to say that after the Q&A and the demo, there's also time for more one-on-one interviews if you wish. Some of you have already arranged those interviews. If you did not yet, don't worry, just let us know, and we will make sure that between 12 and around 4, there is time for you to interview somebody from the team if you want. So just let me know. I just want to start with a quick introduction of two very special people, two of the people that are leading this organization, Eva and Laura, if you want to come just for a second. So, Eva.
Yeah.
Exciting, huh?
Yeah.
So you have been leading our organization for the last 2 years, and I think you've taken a lot of the development of this product as well on your shoulders. So how are you feeling today?
Yeah, super excited. This setting is new to me, and specifically when you mentioned also the team in Amsterdam and in Taipei and in Suzhou, it's quite a moment for our organization. So excited.
Thank you. And Laura also here today, Value Chain Director. You want to tell us a little bit about your last years in Fairphone and how you're feeling today?
Thank you, Miguel. So also really proud and excited to be here today to launch our next generation phones. I've been at Fairphone since the first phone that we produced up till the one that we're presenting today. And so seen the many different sides of Fairphone as an organization starting small and actually coming to where we are now. And also proud to represent now really and talk about the impact that we're making along that way, because that's really where my passion is and my heart lies really. Working before in East Africa and seeing these things firsthand, but also traveling to different programs around for Fairphone to understand the problems and see what we can change in that industry. So therefore, I'm also really excited and proud to be here today, and I hope you'll enjoy and be interested in what we have to say. Thank you.
Thanks, Laura. We'll hear a lot later. Now we are just going to give the floor to Eva, our CEO. The floor is yours.
Yeah, I'm covered. Hi, everybody. Since I'm a new face at this stage, I'm going to talk about myself very impolitely first a bit, and then I'll move on to Fairphone and the Fairphone 3. And 2 years ago, I joined Fairphone after an adventure of scaling a Dutch chocolate social enterprise to 44 million revenue and market leadership in the Netherlands. And then from food to electronics to Fairphone, a completely different industry, but again, a real great social enterprise, and that's what fits me perfect. I'm a daughter of a referent and an engineer, and my mom told me that my talents and my privileges come with the responsibility to choose how to use them. And from my father, and working at big multinationals, I got the appreciation of well-functioning big commercial systems. And the last 10 years, I experienced what the power can be of a social enterprise that aims to change that system and change the rules of that industry as a force for good. And I believe that if we bend the rules a bit, we can indeed make big changes altogether. And that's what I choose to use my talents for. And now I'm going to tell you a bit about my world at Fairphone, and therefore I'm going to talk with you about something that I experienced earlier this year, because I was at Mobile World Congress in Barcelona for the first time, and I walked around, and it was quite overwhelming. Halls and halls with tremendous venues of all these big worldwide brands, huge, shiny black screens with phones, 5G everywhere, more and more cameras, and no one, literally no one addressing anything about sustainability, about the impact this industry has on our planet and the people who are producing these phones. And at a moment like that, it's quite, easy to think, how on earth are we gonna impact this gigantic industry? And that's where I like a quote from Anita Roddick. She founded The Body Shop. If you think you're too small to make an impact, try going to bed with a mosquito in the room. And that then brings you a lot of energy to make that impact. And impact is really needed, because if you dive into the world behind smartphones, this is what you see. This is where it starts, in artisanal mines in Africa, people working in harsh working conditions to supply materials for our electronic devices. Worldwide, 100 million people depend on artisanal mining like this. And then this is where it ends again. Most of the time, again in Africa, a big dump of e-waste, growing every year. It's the fastest growing waste stream, and less than 20% of the phones produced worldwide actually get recycled. So this industry is just based on make, use, and dispose again. And I, as a consumer, and I am sure all of us, hate it when we see pictures like this, when you know this is behind the products you buy and there's no sustainable alternative available. And that's where Fairphone came in. In 2010, Bas van Abel started an awareness campaign around modern slavery in mining. And actually, he was this ethical-minded mosquito in this room full of giants. And many didn't give us a night to survive. And still here we are. And after a few years of campaigning, Bas realized that he wasn't really making any, supplying alternatives. So that's when he decided to become a social enterprise, to become part of this industry, because that was what it took to influence and really understand this industry. And that's when Fairphone was born. A small social enterprise with a big ambition. By establishing a market for ethical phones, we try to motivate the industry to act more responsibly. And this is still our mission today. This is also the mission our invested in. So our company is means to an end. And that's all great, but a bit hollow if you don't know how to achieve a big mission like that. And we try to do that high over in 3 steps. And the first step is that we uncover the supply chain behind the electronic products. We learn a lot about what's going on, and we communicate transparently about the issues that we find. And with that, we raise awareness in the industry around these issues. And step 2 is that we try to set an example. Step by step, we build a company that innovates on solutions on those malpractices that we found. And with that, we try to motivate the industry and convince them that it is possible to make more ethical choices in your supply chain and be a commercially successful company, because that is what it takes, in our opinion, to change this industry. And we focus our innovation and our efforts on 4 areas. And we start at the beginning, that's around responsible sourcing, including the mining. We try to come up with solutions there. We focus on the working conditions in manufacturing. Then we sell and produce a phone with a long-lasting design. And that means that we try to make a phone that remains in use as long as possible, can be repaired when it's broken, and then afterwards, after the life cycle, we are at the 4th area, try to recycle the materials and bring them back into the supply chain again. And on those 4 areas, we come up with solutions that are scalable and that the rest of the industry can duplicate or follow. Laura later on will elaborate more on what we then exactly do in these areas. And now we want to scale. And why is it so important that we scale? Now, the more phones we sell, the more we establish that market for ethical phones. And the more we prove our business model, the more respect we gain in the industry. And the more we can also embrace like-minded people in other organizations. And the more we scale, the more negotiation power we have towards our manufacturers. And the more we can ask their help and support in improving working conditions and improving the longevity of our phone. And the more phones we sell, the more people start conversations about what makes their phone a fairer phone. So therefore, for us, it's so important that the more phones we sell and the more we scale, the more impact we can make in that industry. And how likely is it that we're now ready to scale? Now, I believe we are now ready to scale. We changed a few things in our organization. To start with the leadership, we went from a founder-led organization to an organization led by a professional team with experience in their own disciplines. We have a strong financial base. Last year we closed a big investment round, and now we have a strong financial base to scale. We developed a lot on our product team and our product development. We have a new ODM partner. I already mentioned we have our own team in Asia, in Taipei and in Suzhou. And we benefited a lot from an external advisor who helped us developing our company and our product. And last but not least, we transformed quite some pilots and some research that we did on impact in the areas that I just showed into scalable solutions. So I believe we're ready to scale. And actually, quite some partners externally also feel like we're ready to play with the big boys now. Here you see many of our launching partners, and we invested a lot in strategic partnerships with big operators and resellers. And that means that from being available somewhere in the web shop, we now, for example, complied with all the technical requirements from Orange France. And now we scaled to being available in nearly 800 stores throughout Europe, mainly focused in France and Germany and the Netherlands. And that really proves that these partners believe in the fact that we can scale and that there's a market for this product. And they are willing to support us in the launch of this new device. Now, enough about the company, let's talk about products. This is where we come from. Fairphone 1 was a direct result from the awareness campaign that I spoke about. And Fairphone 2 was our first own design in which we could implement our own values. And it was a unique, highly innovative modular design. And since it was so innovative, it also comes with risks. And many of the first Fairphone 2 pioneers experienced those risks in the early life of Fairphone 2. And I here want to thank those pioneers because they helped us through a crucial phase in the lifetime of our company. And we learned a lot from Fairphone 2, which we used to develop our new phone. Yeah, and that's where we are. I'm proud to launch Fairphone 3, the phone that dares to care for people and planet in the smartphone industry.
Say hello to the new Fairphone, the phone that cares for people and planet, as well as swipes and posts. It takes great photos, even in low light. It has sleek styling, full-day battery life for your very full days, dual SIM, and a unique modular design that's easy to repair in case you... Oops! This is a phone that is built to last, but what really matters is how it's made. The new Fairphone uses fair materials, like Fairtrade Gold. It's made with recycled plastics, and we strive for fair conditions for the workers. This is what you support when you own a Fairphone. Because in a world that doesn't seem to care, caring is the most radical thing you can do. The new Fairphone, out now.
Yay! Yeah, indeed! Yeah, this is a moment. Yeah, now first... Oh, here it is. Yeah, indeed. I'm super proud. Later on, you can also see the whole dismantled phone, and we can elaborate, and you can touch and feel more of this phone. First, I'm going to talk about the technical specs, because Fairphone 3 is literally everything you expect from a modern phone, and also for the more advanced users. And here you see an overview. I want to start with the camera. Fairphone 3 has a great camera performance. It has a 12 megapixel camera and 8 megapixel front selfie camera. But what really makes it stand out is we invested a lot in the optimization of the hardware and the software. And that's why it delivers a VCX score of 64, which makes it comparable with other high-end phones that actually cost twice as much. It is power efficient and has a good battery, so therefore you can. It's really for day-long use, around 20 hours, and it also has an eco-charge mode. That's important for us because with charging it properly, that also extends the lifetime of the battery itself. It's easy to use. It has Android 9, a 4 gigabyte RAM, big internal storage, which you also can expand with the latest micro SD cards. Great screen. Now, I can go on and on and on. What's also very important is that it is a robust phone. So it comes standard with a bumper for extra protection. and it has 9 millimeters Gorilla 5 glass to really make it robust and long-lasting. And what is important for the softwares, we have 5-year software and security updates and software support to make it a long-lasting phone. So really, quite a complete phone, a modern phone, and all of that together for a recommended sales price of 450 euros. So, great phone. And on top of that, we kept the unique modular design of Fairphone. In fact, it's even more modular than Fairphone 2 because we added a module. And we optimized the modular design. We added screws, and therefore it's less vulnerable and more reliable. It has less vulnerable surfaces that are vulnerable for usage. And still it has the high repairability. So more reliable and the high repairability. For now, that's what I'm going to say about the tech specs. Later in the Q&A and later on we can elaborate way more around tech specs. Now I want to give the floor to Laura, because what really makes this phone stand out, it is everything you expect from a modern phone on tech specs, but what makes it stand out is how it's made and the fair specs, as we call it. So Laura, the floor is yours.
I need this. So as Eva already mentioned, hi everyone again, it's really what is behind what matters to us, because the reason we started producing phones is to really understand the supply chains behind and innovate and share with the industry what we can actually find as solutions to different issues. Again, we're looking at different aspects of the supply chain, so from mining to design to tackling e-waste issues. It's really what's behind that we're aiming to cover. So, why modularity? For us, currently, people still use their phones less than 3 years. If you throw away or change your phone every single year, even year 1 or 2 or 3, imagine how many more resources that takes from our Earth and how many more emissions that actually causes. If you basically keep your phone for, instead of 3 years, 5 years, it actually saves 30% environmental footprint. 30%, it's quite a lot. That's by only repairing certain modules, but keeping to the core of the phone. So this is really why we actually make modular products. And the Fairphone 2 was actually the first modular device in the world out there, because it enables people to repair certain parts of the phone while keeping the core of the phone. So the Fairphone 3 builds on those learnings and actually has now a bit more tighter design and screws. So basically the phone actually also comes with a screwdriver in the package, so that you can open it yourself. And you can buy the different parts online, so that if your screen breaks, unfortunately as it is, you can buy a new screen and replace it. That's not the only thing. Also, modularity actually enables upgrades. So if along the lifetime of the phone, there's like really new technology that's really needed to keep the phone alive, we can decide on actually producing and developing a new module that you can replace the old one, with the aim to keep your phone still longer. And lastly, modularity also enables a better recyclability. And that's because, so this is the battery of the Fairphone 3. If you actually are able to, and just as an example, take the battery out and send it to a recycler that's actually specialized in recycling this, then you can get a lot of materials out, instead of having to put the whole phone through kind of a shredder and fishing the different materials out, which is not efficient. Because at one point of the lifetime, modules reach their end of life, as do phones in general, as do electronics in general. In fact, every year, all of us together on a global scale, we produce about 45 million metric tons of electronic waste. To put that a little bit in context, That's the same weight as 4,500 Eiffel Towers. So that's huge. On top of that, every time somebody buys a phone, 80% of people actually keep their old phones as a backup or for privacy reasons in their drawers. But all these products can actually be put to good use because the materials are valuable that are in there. So we started actually collecting old electronics from the start by making it easy for people to empty their drawers and send it back to us so we can actually put it to recycling. Or reuse if that's possible, because that's even better. So we give free shipping labels to everyone, and not only to the high-end phones that have a value in the market, but also to the really old phones, because those materials are valuable too, and that's a bit different because usually it's only high-end phones that are taken back. But more so, like with the Fairphone 3, we're also continuing that because we still see the need that there needs to be much more collected, actually, because of those million phones in drawers. So we actually now also integrated in the sales process where we give a discount or cashback on any purchase if you hand in as many old phones as you can get from your friends, but any phone will do. And yeah, we put that in the packaging, which you can't see now, but if you look at the packaging, that's probably here, that's somewhere here. We remind people through social media, in the packaging, you could put your phone in the old packaging, send it back. It's really about getting as much back as possible. So one day we hope that every customer at least sends back one phone, or any person sends us back one phone. But still, at the moment we still have a huge problem in landfills. There are tons and tons of electronic waste, usually in countries where there's no recycling facilities. So this is a picture actually taken in West Africa. So we also feel that we have a responsibility to clean up what is already there, because it's huge and it's unused. So we recently collected in Ghana 4 tons of old mobile phones to actually be put to recycling. But also we see another issue, because currently they're only the phones, but the batteries are still lying around there. And batteries are extremely polluting. They're chemical. If people try to recycle things from batteries, they open it up with all the chemicals in the environment. So we're now actually also looking in and almost ready to ship a first amount of batteries from West Africa too for recycling. At the same time, so we're doing a lot to collect old scrap. At the same time, we use our supply chain, because if there's more demand for recycled materials, that's also a catalyst for getting more recycled materials. So the Fairphone 3 at the moment has more than 50% recycled copper in it. The modules, all the modules that the Fairphone 3 is made of, have 50% recycled plastics in it. So we try to up as much as possible also our recycled content in our products. But it's not a realistic view to think that with recycled materials only, in our industry, we can supply all electronics. It's just not realistic, and I want to stress that because, and why is it not realistic? Because first of all, imagine electronics like a cappuccino. There's milk in it, sugar, coffee, of course, whatever you want to put in your cappuccino. Well, normally milk and sugar, I guess, or only milk. And try to get back the milk in its original state from that cappuccino. You can imagine how hard it is. It's the same with electronics. If you recycle electronics, you never get back 100% of the materials. That's one point. The second point is we need many more materials. And again, I like the battery as an example. We have an energy transition going on, which means that we're going to store much more energy, use it much more efficient, but it also means that we need many more batteries. Batteries are made of mainly cobalt and lithium. We need 4 times as much cobalt in the future. We need 11 times as much lithium. The recycling is really at its infancy yet, so we're never going to get enough materials from recycling to be able to supply all of that. Basically, it means we need mining. There is going to be a lot of mining. For years, at least in my entire lifetime, there will be the majority will be mined. which means that, and mining is a problematic sector. It has a lot of social and environmental issues. I mean, you see this kind of mine site, it has a huge environmental footprint. And I'll tell a little bit more about that using one example. But that is why we also need to focus on mining, because these issues need to be addressed, especially if they're going to expand because of more material use. So we actually looked at the over 40 materials that are in electronics in smartphones, because there are like many, and many are connected to the mining sector, to understand what the social and environmental issues of all these materials are. And we selected 8, because the issues are most urgent. We feel we need to find long-term solutions for them, because they're important to electronics, so we have a role to play there as a whole sector. And because we as Fairphone feel that we can make a difference there, because we have an influence on the supply chain, for example. So we chose 8 materials that are for a roadmap until 2020. It's not a static roadmap. We'll continue to add materials as we go. Even kijken. So take gold. This is a gold doré bar, if you haven't seen a gold doré bar before. So take gold as an example. Gold is key for electronics. 75% nowadays, on a year basis, is still being mined, and under extremely dangerous conditions, because the majority of people working in this sector are actually working in artisanal or small-scale mines, which means it's very manual, it's very dangerous. Child labor, mercury poisoning, and pollution, these are all aspects that characterize this kind of mining. But realize there are 10 to 15 million people around the globe depending on this kind of mining for their daily lives and incomes, because this is usually in many more developing countries. As we cannot replace this type of mining with recycling for years to come, we need to find long-term sustainable solutions so that these people can actually work under human conditions. For the Fairphone 2, we partnered with Fairtrade, and we were the first electronics company to integrate and source this gold into our supply chain. It took us 2 years to set up this pilot. It's not an easy thing to do. With the Fairphone 3, we're actually expanding on this, because if we really want the more of this Fairtrade gold that's being used throughout our industry, the more miners actually can benefit from this system and get a decent income, better working conditions. We want to spread this kind of practices throughout the sector. So it doesn't mean, so with the Fairphone 3 we actually set up a scalable model, which means that we can actually buy more Fairtrade gold connected to more of our components, but also that this model can be more easily replicated by the rest of the industry to actually increase the amount of gold that can be used and increase the better practices and human conditions on the ground. It's not only human conditions in the mining sector, it's also in factories that we still find really systemic problems. Think about excessive overtime, incredible long working hours, low wages, lack of representation, health and safety risks. Unfortunately, they're still not addressed throughout the industry, and mainly because there are root causes that underlie these issues that are not being addressed. So with our manufacturing partners, we take a bit of a different approach, because to understand these root causes, we feel it's key to actually include employees in understanding why there's these long working hours and what are the priorities to be addressed. So with our key manufacturing partner, based on this employee input, we developed a long-term three-year improvement plan covering many issues, from health and safety to better canteen food to many different issues. But one of the key issues is that we're building a mechanism with them to ensure that representation can, and this dialogue between employees and management can happen on a continuous basis. Because then you can keep on flagging issues that are arising on the work floor, keep on prioritizing what is actually important to address. We invest in this improvement plan also 50-50, but also if the factory indeed implements it and we have measurable results, we actually pay a higher product price to reward the factory for this. But there was another issue that we found really crucial to address, because one of the reasons usually why there is excessive overtime, why people actually also want to work long hours in China, is because of low wages. This was also flagged by employees as one of the key concerns in the factory. So we had many conversations with our manufacturing partner about this, and decided that the share that we would actually contribute, the share of Fairphone production, directly to actually bridge that gap between the minimum income and the needed living income of workers. And this is pretty unique, and it might seem as simple as it might sound. It requires many discussions and a real partnership, because it goes really into the core of how a partner works. And you need to have dedication of both sides to really come to these kind of solutions. So with this, we hope to also inspire the industry to also make steps and take their production share and to be able to lift incomes throughout the industry to a higher level. So back to, back to Anita Roddick, where Eva started with. Are we too small to make an impact? The examples I just mentioned are really examples that we all build to scale. We're not doing this for our own supply chain. We're doing this to really inspire the rest of the industry. And we're not there yet. I mean, every step that we take, every time we tackle a new material, we find new issues to address. So we have a way to go. That's also but every step we take is actually a new achievement, and therefore we also are really standing here to present this milestone today, which is the Fairphone 3. Therefore, a fairer phone, because we still continue tackling issues as we go. I'm proud to present this phone today. From now on, it's also available, of course, on our web shop and through our partners. Thank you very much for listening, and thank you.
Thank you, Laura. We are going to move to the Q&A. So I would like to welcome also two people that haven't been on stage yet, which is Bas van Abel, our former CEO and founder, and Monique Lempers, our commercial director. Welcome. Eva, you're going to join us? Just very quick for the people that you still, maybe, I'm sure some of you know them already, but Bas, Monique, do you want to share some words with us? How are you feeling after this journey? Who wants to start?
Does this work already? Yes.
Yes.
Yes, obviously it feels as a really exciting moment, and that was already shared by Eva and Laura as well. It's really a big milestone for Fairphone, and I was just saying to a colleague that I have goosebumps, and it's not because it's cold in here, but it's really because this is beyond. I feel a breakthrough of Fairphone coming with a new phone. It is really a shift in consumer behavior that we see happening already in textiles, already in food, and this is really the moment, you can feel it in the air, that have we come with a phone that is widely accessible for a broader public that really wants to influence the world around him or herself through their buying behavior. And you can feel in the air that this is the moment, the right moment to come with this phone that has that alternative for this consumer. So I'm so excited.
Thank you. Thanks. Bas, how are you?
Strangely enough, I'm super relaxed.
Great.
No, I'm super relaxed because and that goes, that says something about also the achievement that's down here. That it is really damn difficult to make a phone, which I found out doing it myself from the start with the first two as well. But it's also even more difficult to do that with all the work that's done that Laura just showed. And I've had some launches, and most launches I was also, and I'm looking at the team here, I was always in this kind of dual mode of knowing all the work, what's happening behind the scenes to make it happen, because we're still, the team in Suzhou, the team in Taiwan, they're really working hard to make sure that the phone is in the hands of the people. And for me, I can enjoy this right now because I don't have that burden right now. Which makes it a bit weird for me, but it's also makes me really proud of what the team is achieving now. So I'm looking forward to it.
Thanks, Wes. So we'll move to Q&A. Somebody wants to start. Do you have any burning question that you would like to pose to our guests? I also have to say I'm also a circular innovation lead at Fairphone, so there might be some questions that I take myself, but we have a lot of expertise behind the table. Who wants to start? Questions? Okay, I have to come to you. Can you say your name and your news outlet?
I'm Jakob Jung, and news outlet is CNET, Germany. Can you give some numbers about your company? How big is your team at the moment, and how many Fairphones did you actually sell 1 year or 2 years ago?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's a question for me. Oh, should I now use this one, Miguel? Yeah. Okay. Our team is now 65 people in Amsterdam, and then another 7 in Asia. We've sold so far 170,000 Fairphones. That's both Fairphone 1 and 2 combined. And our target for the coming months for 2019 is to sell 40,000 Fairphone 3s.
Thank you. Somebody else who wants to go now? No questions? Yeah?
Yeah. 60,000 Fairphone 1. 115,000 Fairphone 2, 65 in Amsterdam, and 7 in Asia.
Thank you. Somebody who wants to go? Question? A question.
So who are your customer? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm Tilo from Loft FM. I would like to know, who are your customer? More male, female, the age range, and are they a little bit more orientated alternative in fair trade or fair living?
Yes, so with Fairphone 2, the male-female was quite balanced, our customer. And with both Fairphone 1 and Fairphone 2, obviously these were customers that really wanted to choose for a phone that has a sustainable impact. So that was really the main motivation for these people to buy a Fairphone and to step into this journey with us. And obviously that is similar for Fairphone 3, but what is a difference is that we have made the phone more accessible for an even broader public. That is what we call a light green customer that also wants to choose for a sustainable phone, but maybe has wants to give less compromise or make less compromises in terms of the specs, the price, and just wants a very good phone, together with knowing that it has fair principles that it is committed to. So we've broadened our target group, our customer group, to this broader light green customer. The average age is between 25 and 40. And this is a customer that wants a great phone, that wants a phone that can do everything and wants to also choose for a fairer world.
And the customer came from Android or iPhone. Why they had a change in their mind to be not hip anymore in new tech specs, to be hip in being fair?
Yes, well, I think that last part of your question goes even beyond Android or iOS users. I think why the customer chooses for a Fairphone is because before there was not really a sustainable alternative on the market, and we are able now to provide that sustainable alternative, and people are willing to even move from iOS to or other softwares to Fairphone, Android software, Android. It's clean Android software, so you can go from any Android device easily to Fairphone, but also they're willing to go from iOS or other software versions to Android because they want to choose for this sustainable alternative. Yeah. Yeah.
Some questions in the room?
Hi, my name is Tobias from golem.de. I have a question also concerning the software. Is there a Safish OS version planned again for Fairphone 3, like it was for the second one?
Oh, yeah, I'll take that one. Not at launch. What we decided, we have an unlockable but locked boot loader, so we will decide on that later on, because we also want to think about the business models behind it. So there needs to be, for example, also Fairphone as a service. We also try to innovate on business models in other directions. So at launch it's not available. It is in the future roadmap, but then we need to decide in what form.
Yes. Let me just hand you the...
Louis from Paris and Le Numérique. What is the cost of each pieces for the replacement of the module? You know, what is the cost of the screen, of the photo module?
So the phone will cost 450 euros. I'm not sure if that was already clear. So we'll have the different spare parts, of course, for repair. So the top module will cost €29.95. The camera will cost €49.95. The screen will cost €89.95. Then we have the speaker module. It will cost €19.95. The bottom module will cost €19.95, and the back cover will cost €49.95. Did I forget anything?
Thank you.
I think so. No.
In any case...
Oh, the battery. Sorry, €29.95, the battery. Yeah.
We can also provide the list to you if you want. Yeah. Some more questions in the room? Yes.
Hi. Oh, hello. Yep. Excuse me. Tristan Rayner from Android Authority. I've been on the Fairphone subreddits and forums, and there's a lot of customers in the US who are talking about trying to get a Fairphone. Do you have any comments on that?
What is your question exactly?
Okay, so I didn't see any availability or that you're aiming for the US.
No, so we're really now aiming for the European market still. Within the European market, we're also focusing on a few key countries. So that includes the Netherlands, France, Germany, UK, and the Nordics. We've especially chosen to focus on these countries because there we see a high percentage of customers that consume fair trade or sustainable goods. So we really think that there the market is most mature to bring this phone to the market. And yes, we do see a lot of requests and demand also from the US, but also other countries in Europe. And that is part of our future roadmap. But for us, it was important now to concentrate to make sure that we are ready both operationally as well as in our services to really service professionally these markets.
Thank you. May I also ask about the camera? I'm just wondering if there's any sort of advanced image processing tech. We see things like night modes and multi-frame processing and those kind of things. So a bit tech specific, but.
Sorry, what was exactly your question?
Yeah, so I'm asking about advanced camera features within your camera.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, yeah, what we have our technical team available for all questions that I personally find quite a bit difficult after 2 years to answer. What I can say is that we invested a lot and worked together with a few companies also to optimize the camera. And we worked with Arcsoft to add indeed features to the camera, and we worked with now I forgot the name, to optimize. I'm gonna ask the technical team to optimize the hardware and software integration. And I think if you really want to know about all the features of the camera, I'm gonna pass that question to Wayne. Yeah. Wayne.
Yeah, he's probably watching us. So of course our CTO and engineering team are also available for answering this question.
Maybe there's one thing that I mentioned briefly also in my presentation. That's the VCX score of 64, which is quite high compared to other high-end phones. But specific features, I'm going to pass to Asia.
Yeah, just make sure you come to us, and then we'll connect you with a person.
Jörg is my name. I'm working for Berlin newspaper here. My question, when you think about earbuds, when you think about Apple and Google, they are very important for them. Do you have any plans on that?
Yes, we will be selling earphones as well. Yeah, we will sell them in our web shop, so you can buy them as an accessory in addition to the phone. Yes, and these earphones in particular will be also partially modular, so the cable can be disconnected from the phone itself, so that when the cable, for example, breaks, you only need to buy a new cable to make it work again.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Peter from Ludo Bilde in Denmark, Norway, and Sweden. You mentioned that you also focus on the Nordics. Do you have any partners in the Nordics, retail or operators?
Yes. Was that me? We do. We have different partners in the Nordics. Eva also showed a presentation of some of them. But for example, Tele2 is an operator we're going to work with in Sweden. We have Elisa in Finland that will also launch per today with the Fairphone 3. And we have a few resellers there as well. Yes, so ETC, for example, and Inrego is they are especially specialized in refurbished phones. They will also be selling the Fairphone 3, and of course we will be selling also through our web shop to the Nordics.
Some more questions in the room? Yeah, thank you.
Hey, my name's Roland from WinFuture.de, and the question is 450 euros the actual retail price for Germany in this case?
Yes.
Is that including taxes and everything?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
It does. Maybe it's good to mention that in Sweden and Nordics it will cost 475.
Thank you. Some more questions in the room? On this side, sorry. Some questions? No? Yes?
Hi, I'm Patrick from Circle. I was wondering about the upgradability. How do you see the Fairphone 3 progress in the future?
Yeah, that's. I'll take this one. Yeah, we are currently working on the roadmap indeed for the upgradable parts of Fairphone 3. We already started with that. Part of our company professionalizing is also that we need to become more forward-looking, and that our product roadmap indeed should have a longer view. So yeah, we already, if I could announce it, I would have done it today. But yeah, that's in the pipeline, and that's what we're planning for. Yet it's too early to do that now. Also, we believe this is now an up-to-date phone. But yeah, that is one of the big advantages of modularity. So yeah, that's what we plan for.
Thank you. Some more questions? Anybody? Question? Otherwise, I will start asking questions. Yeah, okay.
Roman from Frandroid in France. Are you going to keep updating the Fairphone 2? For how long?
Now, not on hardware, but on software we do. On hardware, we, in fact, actually, it was one of the first things that Bas and I did when I joined Fairphone, was around securing the spare parts for Fairphone 2. On software, yes, we are actually, I believe today a new security update will be released for Fairphone 2. And also in the pipeline is way more software development. So yeah, also the Fairphone 2 users, we will keep taking care of them. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Marco from MDR Television. You did not yet talk about CO2 footprint. So is there anything different compared to other products? Or other question, do you think Greta Thunberg would use your phone?
I'll leave it to Eva to answer Greta. But basically, we're currently implementing a life cycle assessment, which we've already done on the Fairphone 2. And what you see, actually, if you keep the core, which is actually the main majority of the production of a phone, and if you only change the parts, and you take those scenarios with quite some repairs, and actually have a phone instead of 3 years, 5 years, that reduces your environmental footprint with 30%. So basically, the modularity enabling actually only putting the changing spare parts instead of changing the core saves you 30% environmental footprint, and that includes resource use, emissions, everything along the life cycle of the production of the phone.
Maybe maybe I can add to that. We know already that Fairphone 3 design also will use less of very specific materials, for example, gold. And we know that will have a big effect on the life cycle assessment. So emissions will be less, but we will know that in a couple of months. Yeah. Some more questions? Maybe Eva wants to answer about the Greta. Will Greta have it?
Of course, you can do it. No, yeah, if she needs a new phone.
She can use it, of course. Thank you. Some more questions from the room? Yeah.
Hi, I'm Jan Kino Jansen from Heise Online and CT Magazine. You just said that you sold, what did you say, 110,000 of Fairphone 2. I think it would be interesting for me, how many people of these 110,000 bought modules, new modules for their phones? Do you know that?
Yeah, you understood the question? Should I answer? Okay. So I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know exactly the amount of people that actually bought modules. That's probably something we can tell you later because that's sales. We know a lot. So a lot of people did repair the device themselves, and we know it was actually very successful. So the moment somebody received a module, actually the problem was solved for most of them. So also we've done a lot of repairs ourselves that were in warranty this way. So just as a curiosity, so when somebody had a problem, we would send also the module for them to replace. Also last year in our impact reports, we published our new KPIs. Well, not so new anymore, but one of them is around this question: how many active users we still have. This is just a number that we can see because we see how many people try to download our software updates. No tracking at all, just see on the server. And now I want to remember, but I believe the last number is around 58%, and otherwise we will double check. 59% I'm hearing, of those users are still using Fairphone 2. This is a KPI that of course we maintain for Fairphone 3, so obviously now it will increase a little bit because of the sales, but we will keep on using that KPI and measuring how many of our users are active in comparison with the devices that we have sold for Fairphone 2 and Fairphone 3. I hope that answered. Yeah, okay. Some more questions? Yes?
I actually have one more. You said during the presentation that you hope to, make an impact on the industry. Do you see any impact so far? Do any of the major manufacturers seem to listen or to copy you in any way?
Yeah, thank you for that question. That's exactly one of our key aims and also one of the key indicators that we measure our success with and are evaluated also by our investors. Yes, we, from the moment that we started, for example, when we launched the Fairtrade Gold pilot in the Fairphone 2, basically we got a lot of attention also in the Netherlands from the Dutch government, which resulted eventually in an agreement. It was one of the factors that actually put gold on the table as one of the problematic materials, which actually resulted in an agreement between the government and certain industry and NGOs to look at that sector from a Dutch perspective. But also from that, we actually signed a partnership and made a partnership with several NGOs, but also an electronics company like Philips that committed to actually also look into their supply chain and source more responsible gold. So that is one of the examples where we see that, yeah, of course it doesn't happen overnight, but because we're also creating awareness for a lot of topics that nobody knew about, like gold in your phone. I don't think that's the first thing where you think about if you're holding electronics, but that has an effect in terms of awareness and also in the industry. I can maybe name one more example, which is a little bit less concrete in that sense. But when we did this study across all these materials and understanding what are the different problems associated with these materials, we published that also. So everything we do is really for public information so that everybody can actually work with that. And what we saw is that the industry also took that up and now is expanding the scope of the different materials that are actually being focused on by industry platforms. So those are things that we think is really important and shows that also the industry is really looking at these and also moving in that direction.
Thank you.
I also want to add one thing on the, we've been talking a lot about the phone and how Fairphone can facilitate also in the products to change what we're doing in the supply chain, but there's a huge role also for the consumer. If you look at or for the customers, and if you look at the conversation that's been going on in the industry, it's matured a lot. And a lot of that also has to do with the fact that you guys are here. You tell that same story. Behavioral change comes also, is a big part of what we need to achieve here. We can make all the phones we want, make them more durable, more modular, more repairable, but if the customer doesn't want that phone longer, then it all ends up there. So I do think that the whole conversation around sustainability is just starting within the industry. We're all part of that. I think that story needs to be told, and needs to be told in a different way. It's happening in other industries, so it will happen anyway. The only question is how fast can we catalyze that whole change? And that's it's all these parts that matter, and the customers are not free from that whole cycle that we're stuck in.
Yes, I have a question.
Hi, just as a follow-up to that previous question, as tech companies become more responsible, it kind of shrinks your niche in the market. Is that a problem? Do you think about that? What's the future of Fairphone?
Actually, that's also a question I got asked a lot in my former company, in the chocolate company, where we were scaling as well. I believe there is, now, on the long run, a position for Fairphone. Currently, we are, now, as I said, the mosquito in the room, and I like to elaborate a bit on what Bas said. You need several players to change an industry. So it takes the consumers, but it also takes the government, and it takes companies taking responsibility and showing that it's possible. I believe that once we get more and more other companies and other big players who take the responsibility and move towards more sustainable supply chains and products as well, still the role of Fairphone will be to keep everybody awake and to make sure that we keep on innovating on all the issues that we find. And we're now so far off that I believe for the coming years there is a clear role for Fairphone. And besides that, we're also building a company. So there's also value in the company and the brand, and let's see how we can expand that later on. But in the coming years, the role of Fairphone really is clearly in this industry. I'm sure we have enough work to do, and we will remain relevant.
Thank you. Some more questions? Any other question? Going to see on the other side. More questions here? No? Okay. Then I think we're going to close this part. Thank you for joining here. Give please a big applause to them. Thank you. So now it's time for you to look at the device. There will be some rooms here next door that where you can do it. I also want to say our friends from iFixit are in the room as well, so they will help you and show you also the phone dismantled. iFixit is an online repository for repair guides, and they have their own spare parts and tools, so you can ask them also all the questions you want. They are here today, one of our launching partners as well. Thank you again. We will be in the room as well, so you can recognize us by our little badge. You've met these people today here, but we are also many more. There's people from our sales team as well that you can talk with. There's people from our brand team. So enjoy. Thank you for coming. See you soon.